Hello, welcome to Record Sports Hotline Live. My name is Daniel Com. Delighted to be joined by the Dream Team, the Hotline Dream Team. Keith Jackson. Keith, how's it going?
Okay, Daniel. Another hectic weekend of SPFL action, of course, and plenty to talk about. Scott's obviously joining us live from Ibrox, where Rangers have just dropped another 2 points. And then earlier in the day, a thoroughly enjoyable match, actually, at Easter Road between Celtic and Hibs. So, yeah, plenty to talk about.
Right, I mean, as you say, Scott McDermott's at Ibrox. Scott, how's it going?
I'm okay, Daniel. Yep, very cold here at Ibrox, but I'm all right.
I think that's the best place to start, Keith, since we've got Scott there. I mean, how would you sum up the game, Scott?
Oh, dreadful, dire. Another real low point for Rangers today. Just when Danny Rowe, I know last week against Livingston wasn't great, but no, they eked out a win. It was 4 wins on the spin in the league. Incredibly, they'd managed to kind of climb the table and almost get themselves into a position where you thought, God, could they actually go and challenge for the title again and get involved at the top of the table. So a home game against newly promoted side, it should be a gimme for Rangers, let's be honest.
By the way, Falkirk were excellent, Scotty.
They were? No, they were.
And it's dead easy for us always in a situation like this to say how bad Rangers were or if it's the shoes on the other foot and it's Celtic. But I think everybody's got to give a bit of credit to Falkirk for the way they set up. And by the way, when he comes off after it, John McGlynn saying he's slightly disappointed. He's not despondent, obviously, because of the result, but he was disappointed with the way that they gave the ball away too often, ball retention.
Yep.
He wanted to be a lot better than that, but they were well worth the result and the point.
I actually said that to John McGlynn afterwards, Jacko. What does it say about how far this team and this club have come? That he was sitting in the press conference actually a bit down, a bit frustrated that they'd only got a point. And
what does that tell you?
Exactly. I think you're totally right in terms of they didn't just come here and sit in that kind of low block and just defend and invite Rangers on. And look, they didn't create a load of chances, but there was enough in it for them that they could have went and won it.
I felt in the last 10-15 minutes, Scott, if there was one side going to win it, it was going to be Falkirk.
Aye, well, Jack Bolton did a good save for Aguiman. The subs gave Falkirk a wee bit of fresh impetus. So again, McGlynn using the squad. I mean, I think John McGlynn's a genius, a manager, honestly, for what he's done. You look at Falkirk now in the top 6. And I think, as you say, the frustration for McGlynn was at the end, he sensed that this is a Rangers team, really vulnerable.
There was something more for Falkirk.
Yeah, there was an opportunity for them. Certainly the way Rangers played, the lack of creativity, which I'm sure we'll talk about. So there was a chance there for Falkirk. I think if Falkirk had scored one, they'd have probably won the game. Yeah. Rangers could have played all night and no scored. So, as ridiculous as it sounds, I'm coming on here saying an opportunity missed for Rangers, but you could argue it was an opportunity missed for Falkirk to get all 3 points.
The last time, the last time Falkirk won a league match at Ibrox was almost 100 years to the day. 1925, November 1925. Madness.
Incredible. I know. And you look at actually the list of results, Daniel. I think it's maybe like 50 odd games. The amount of just comfortable wins for Rangers at home to Falkirk, so 3-0, 4-0, 3-1, and you look at how much Rangers struggled today. I mean, it's a real sign how far Rangers have fallen. That they really toiled today to break down Falkirk. I mean, listen, it was the same last week against Livingston, but the lack of creativity, the lack of guile. Look, the biggest thing for me, and I know we'll talk about Danny Rowe and his kind of part in it, the biggest thing for me, I don't know what you thought, the lack of urgency for these Rangers players.
Is that not what I said to you the other night, Scott?
It blows my mind, Jacko. You put yourself in the position of these players. Bear in mind that the start they've had to the season has been absolutely disastrous. They've been completely written off and been out of the title race, not even challenging at the top. And they put a few wins together, not playing brilliantly, but put a few wins together. And because obviously Hearts and Celtic dropping points, suddenly there's a wee window of opportunity for them. And you think as players, you would think, oof, no, what a chance for us. We need to go and grasp this, but we could actually get back involved in this again, despite the horror show that's been the start of the season. And then you watch them today in a game where they're expected to win. They should have better players than Falkirk. They're at home. And they can't be bothered running to pick a
doing
ball.
the basics.
Yeah, a throw in.
Yeah.
And the crowd are on their back. It's 0-0. There's 20 minutes to go. And there's players walking back and walking over to take throw-ins. Honestly, I mean, as I say, the lack of urgency and intensity and tempo and pace, that to me is just a mentality thing. So many of these players, it probably doesn't even occur to a lot of these players that there's a chance to go and compete for a title. And that's what Rangers are about. That's what they're supposed to be here for. They've got so used to just being run of the mill, no really competing for honours. I watch guys like Asgard and Antman, guys that are signed for $7.5 million combined. Those two, Asgard and Antman, today, offering absolutely nothing to Rangers going forward. It's incredible.
I think they're becoming an embarrassment to the jersey, Scott. I think that Rangers fans won't sit back and watch a team that are doing no more than going through the motions. And a couple of things. First of all, in terms of that I would have to say now that having watched this side over a period of months, this is as poor a Rangers side I can remember in a top flight. Granted, there was the period down the leagues. But in terms of a team operating in the top tier of Scottish football, this is the worst Rangers side I can remember since the early 80s under John Gregg. That's how bad they are. And back then, by the way, Rangers still had players like Bobby Russell and Davy Cooper and Jim Bett, guys that would probably steamroller this team. I think it reflects horribly on the sporting director who has left, the manager who lasted a couple of months, the guys in charge at the top of the tree that are making these big calls. They need to get the next ones right. And I wonder as well, let's not forget that Danny Rowe was appointed while Kevin Thelwell was still in there making the calls, right?
Yep.
I think that's a worry. I heard his name getting chanted in the final whistle, Scott. Was that by the Falkirk fans who were having a laugh, or was that by the Rangers supporters?
No, I think that was the Falkirk fans.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
because
football sarcasm.
I wonder when it starts to turn on Danny Rowe a little bit. And I say that, I think he's done a lot right. I think he was clever enough to read the room in terms of wearing the right things, saying the right things, trying to reconnect with the supporters. Yep. But you forget the brogues and the shirt and the tie, Scott. He's starting to look as if he's wearing the Emperor's new clothes. Because I don't see what it is that he's doing.
You know, one of the big things I took away from the day was the crowd in here today, I reckon, was probably about 35,000.
And they announced it over 50.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way that was the case. I mean, we spoke about it in the press room afterwards. I mean, that must obviously count season ticket holders, but that in itself tells its own story, because season ticket holders, or some season ticket holders, just aren't turning up to watch this.
So they're basically paying not to go to the game now.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, there was empty seats all over the ground today. And look, it's a 2:00 on a Sunday kick-off. There's no reason why punters wouldn't want to turn up. And as I said earlier, in actual fact, the last few weeks, or since Danny Rowles came in, although performances haven't been brilliant, they've kind of got themselves going again. They've watched Celtic and Hearts drop points. If you're a fan, you'd think, no, there's a wee chance here. No, let's try and get behind the manager, behind this team, get back in it. They don't want to, because they don't want to watch. They can't watch this team. I agree with you, Jacko. I got a message at full time for a Rangers fan saying exactly as you've said, this is the worst Rangers team I've seen since they were down in the lower leagues. I mean, you think bad, even recent bad teams like Kashinya's.
I was going to say Kashinya's team was pretty ropey.
That was poor.
That was poor. It was poor, but I tell you what, they'd probably beat this team 2 or 3-0 at the moment. Honestly,
I wouldn't argue with
you.
It tells you what a state. I mean, what a state. So now you've got Danny Rowe, and I don't want to be unkind. He's a really inexperienced guy, and there's a danger for.
Sorry to jump in, Keith, but if he'd won today, that's 5 straight wins. And it's not his team. I think.
Yeah, I know, but I'm talking about the standard of the football that you're
Aye,
watching.
okay,
I'm
fair
talking
enough.
about the fact that Rangers look incapable of scoring goals
Aye.
in any matches. They don't create. And I'm sure there'll be somebody out there that knows the computer formula for XG and all this, which I don't need. I don't need it. I can see it with my own eyes. Rangers are a side that look inept in the final third. They don't look like creating chances. They certainly don't look like taking what they do create, what little they create. They're a bad lot. Now, I accept that Danny Rowe has turned it round in terms of results, but the performances, they're flatline. They haven't improved. In fact, look, what's the role? What's the main kind of key challenges that you set for a manager? You need them to organise your team, you need them to motivate the players, and you need to improve them. Right? That's the three kind of big metrics for a manager. The Rangers don't look particularly well organised to me under Danny Rowe. They don't appear to be motivated. We've just discussed that with Scott. They can't even seem to get themselves up for games that they really have to win. And they've certainly not improved. So,
Jacko,
on these...
I disagree slightly on the point of I do think they're a bit more structured and a bit more organised compared to what they were under Russell Martin. That's a pretty low bar, but they are. I don't think they're conceding as many big chances. I don't think they look as susceptible to like counter attacks and stuff like that.
They're not playing the suicidal stuff out for the back and all this, so they've kind of knocked that one off.
There's been a slight improvement in that sense, but going forward, and you're laughing there, and I'm the same. I'm not a stats guy. I'm no big on stats, but there were stats came out during the week about Rangers XG and in terms of them creating big chances in games. In the Scottish Premiership, they're seventh in terms of creating
even the
chances.
computer says no.
That is incredible. And I mean, you think of how much money was spent on this side in the summer. I mean, in every position, but from middle to front, you think Antman, Asgard, Gassama, Majowski, Shermiti, and you're seventh in the league when it comes to creating chances.
It's staggering.
That's staggering. And then that kind of manifested itself again today. I mean, I think the first half, I'm thinking Bayrami, interestingly, by the way, Bayrami, who's been the forgotten man at Ibrox for like 9 months, is now our best player.
On the pitch today.
Yep, best player. Looked as if he's got a wee bit about him, wants to try and make things happen. Technique was good, wants to try and create, have a shot. His shot in the first half was their only real chance. And in the second half, Gassama, I think, get one that Scott Bain saves. That was it.
Mm-hmm. I know we need to let you go up the road, Scott, but there's a few people, Craig being one of them in the comments. He says, someone has to explain the Raskin hype to me. He does nothing in Scottish football except the odd game. He seems to be getting a bit of stick after today's performance.
He does, and look, Daniel, he has to do more. I don't think he's the worst by any stretch in the Rangers team, and I think, if there were better players around him, you'd probably see a better Nico Raskin, but that's no making an excuse for him. He has to do more. He's highly rated here. We keep saying he's probably the club's most kind of prized asset. He's a Belgian international, kind of nailed on. Pretty much starts for Belgium, or has done recently in every game. So he has to do more to dominate and dictate games. I mean, I thought Falkirk today, central midfield, Dylan Tate, Brad Spencer were excellent. Calvin Miller kind of playing middle to front. Raskin should be dominating games like this. Given his kind of current status and so-called value. So he's not doing enough. I thought again probably Connor Barron showed more today, just in terms of that desire and determination and getting about the pitch and trying to make things happen. But Rangers are so lacking in so many areas. But understand why Raskin takes a bit of stick.
I thought the body language all over the pitch is shocking as well, Scott. It's
really,
there's a lot of hands going up in the air and people shrugging at each other and blaming each other. Just get on and win a game of football. And I'm looking as well. We're talking about guys that have come in. Antman, hopeless, replaced by Gassama. Asgard, hopeless, hooked for Danilo. Bayrami, as you said, Scott, comes back in from nowhere to look like the most creative and dangerous player that they've got. Majowski, hopeless. I mean, hopeless. And Max Aarons again terrible.
Yeah.
I just think that they. So as much as I'm quite critical of Danny Rall and wondering how long he gets as a honeymoon period here, the what he's working with it's the ultimate bum hand.
Yeah, but Bayrami's not even in the European squad. Yet he's their best. He's their best player today. And I'm also looking at the bench, by the way, and I feel for somebody like Lyle Cameron. I mean, I'm wondering, how bad must Lyle Cameron look in training that he can't get off the bench? He can't get a game in this team.
That doesn't make any sense.
You're right. I mean,
it's almost as if that was a signing that was made before Kevin Thelwell.
Yeah.
And Kevin Thelwell has put out an edict of some sort that thou shall not play. Because it makes no sense.
No, and most Rangers fans I speak to, there's not a lot of Scottish players here, but they want Scottish players in the team. They want to see Finlay Curtis getting a run. I mean, is Finlay Curtis really any worse than Oliver Antman? You look at Lyle Cameron, compared to an Asgard, a Scottish Premiership game. I think I would take Lyle Cameron over Tello Asgard any day of the week. On current form, on Asgard's current form, but it doesn't seem to be getting an opportunity. But it was interesting post match. I say he has given a lot of players a lot of opportunities, but at what point does his patience run out with these guys? And he did kind of hint that people just aren't taking the chances that he's given them, and eventually, he said as time goes on, those chances will diminish, and I guess he's thinking ahead to January, obviously, when he's going to need to get some bodies in. But if you're one of these players, you must be thinking to yourself, I need to do more here, or I'm just going to drift away. The manager's clearly going to bring in some players.
Do they care, Scott? Do they care? They don't look like they care.
What's that, Jacko?
I said, do they care? I mean, you're saying that if you were one of those players, you'd be saying, I need to get...
They don't look like they do.
They don't look like they care. They look as if they're happy just to be there, go through the emotions, earn a decent pay packet, train in a nice facility, get to wear a Rangers shirt for a while, call themselves a Rangers player. I don't see people out there caring about their work.
I totally agree. I mean, I looked at a young boy today, the boy Connor Allen, played for Falkirk, played at centre-back, and I've never seen the boy play before today, apart from Falkirk highlights, obviously, the last few weeks. But he came through the ranks at Rangers, deemed not good enough, was allowed to leave. I think it might have been last January. Goes to Falkirk. And I'm not saying he's brilliant or he's going to do this or that in the game, but I look at him today, play centre-back. I mean, really, is he that much worse than Emmanuel Fernandez, who comes in for Peterborough for £3 million? By the way, that's not me saying Fernandez is a poor player. I'm just looking at the comparison. Connor Allen, Fernandez, is there that big a gap between those two young players? I don't think so, and I think that's maybe part of the kind of bigger picture here, but just yet another example of the rank rotten recruitment in the summer. And Danny Rall's not going to be able to fix it all in January, but he'll need to try and do something, because these types of performances just can't continue.
Scott, we could talk about it all night, but I think it's just about time we let you get up the road. Thank you.
Up the road, wee man.
Thank you, as always, for joining us on the Hotline Live. I'm sure we'll be pestering you to come back on soon.
No worries. Cheers, mate.
Cheers,
Thanks,
Scott.
Hey, Jacko. Cheers.
We have lost 1/3 of the dream team. But don't fear. I caught up with Michael Gannon earlier on today after Celtic's win at Easter Road. Shall we hear what he had to say?
Everybody loves a bit of Gannon.
Absolutely. Let's catch up with Mick now. Joined on the Hotline Live now by the one and only Mick Gannon. Michael, I mean, another victory domestically for Celtic under Martin O'Neill, and a big one.
I know, it's incredible, the kind of Martin O'Neill farewell tour. We thought it was going to be the final farewell. Now not going to be the final farewell, but it keeps on going. And that's, I mean, take it the Midtjylland game, and it's 5 out of 5. 5 wins, or 6 wins out of 7. All domestic games, 100% record domestically. And it's taken Celtic to the kind of within striking distance at the top of the table now. It's incredible. To be honest with you, it's actually it's a bit of a miracle he's managed to do this, because this is not a particularly good Celtic team right now. There's glaring problems all over the pitch, and yet he's doing the business. He's getting the results by hook or by crook. He's getting them results. This is a ground where Celtic don't do particularly well. I think they've only won 4 out of 15 here, going back maybe 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. So this is a place where they can struggle when they're doing well. So to come here and win when they're not been particularly great this year is a big result. It's, in the context of the weekend, with Hearts dropping points, Rangers dropping points, it's a huge, absolutely mammoth victory. Yeah. And you've got to say he's done an incredible job. I said it during the week in Holland. You got to hold to him. He's done an incredible job getting the results with the resources at his disposal. I mean, players dropping like flies, injuries, key men missing, gaps in the squad, but he's just constantly getting results by hook or by crook. He's getting there, and fair play to him. And he's going to be doing it again on Wednesday, because having himself thinking this was going to be the last game. Obviously, Wilfred Nancy's deal is currently getting caught up in red tape and paperwork, so it looks like it's not going to be done in time for Wednesday. So he's back in the dugout for one final hurrah, we think, on Wednesday. Which I think is actually probably quite fitting doing it at Celtic Park. I think it'd be quite nice for him to get a proper kind of send off in front of the home support. But again, he's not thinking like that. He's just thinking, keep the results going, keep the team on track, and hand over the team in a good position for the new manager. Which kind of sums the guy up, really. That sums up this kind of selfless attitude he's had since he come back. And this is why I keep saying it. He's not just kind of. He's not just kind of solidified his kind of hero status. He's actually enhanced it with this spell in charge. I mean, a lot of Celtic fans will have loved him from his first spell. There might be newer fans that have heard about him and that weren't really aware of him. Now they're kind of seeing what he's all about, and I think he'll be worshipped by them as well. So what a job he's done. You got to hand it to him. Incredible.
I get that I'm asking you to look into a crystal ball, Mick, but do you think there's any chance he could be there beyond Wednesday, a little bit longer?
Well, listen, the word is no. It's not far off getting done. There's a bit of kind of some complications in terms of visas, work permits, all that kind of stuff, and it should be done. To be honest with you, if it can be done, I think the question is now, should it be done?
Yeah. I
mean, you look at what is Wilfred Nancy going to be facing? He's going to be facing a top of the table game against Hearts on Sunday, Roma in Europa League on Thursday, and a cup final. I almost think it's now at the point. What is the point of throwing him into that baptism of fire? Let the guy go. Let the guy go house hunting and start after the cup final. I genuinely think it's what would be the point of now coming at that point in time with those 3 games? Probably having to try and change a playing style or formations and all that stuff. It just seems like unnecessary risks now. I mean, they've missed the window to a point. It should have been appointed. It should have been done 2 weeks ago. For the start of the international break. Should have been done and dusted in the door for that Monday after the international break, at least, and get the ball rolling. But because it's taking so long, I think they've now missed the window. I think it's actually now almost pointless and not waiting beyond the cup final. Because so now you get in the door, you take your first training session. It won't be Thursday morning, because that's recovery day. So it's Friday, ahead of a game to go potentially to go top of the table against your title rivals. And then it's straight into a European game the following week, which is a brutally difficult one anyway. While prepare for a cup final, it's almost unfair. But it's now at the point it's unfair to Martin O'Neill, it's unfair to Wilfred Nancy. And by the way, Celtic have said nothing. Nothing. No, there's no update. Celtic have made one update in 5 weeks saying Martin O'Neill's still in charge, as we said before. And that's all they've said in 5 weeks. So the board are thinking they're hard done by, getting a hard time with the fans. They'll say, well, listen, we've done all this, the success, and yes, and I mean, brought in Martin O'Neill. They're telling them nothing. They're telling supporters nothing. I mean, we're all digging about and getting information for fans. They're telling them nothing. They haven't given the courtesy to tell fans what's going on. They even said, listen, we've got a new guy, but we're trying to sort out red tape, etc. They're not telling them anything. They're completely in the dark. It's basically Martin's here until we say otherwise. And listen, fair play, because Martin O'Neill has got a lot of patience, because apparently he was told yesterday, well, by the way, you needed for another game on Wednesday night. He'd be quite entitled to say, you know what, I've booked Tenerife. I'm going to Tenerife on Tuesday. He told me I wasn't required to be on Monday. So I mean, he's got the patience of a saint, and fair play to him for doing it. But it's not fair to him. It's not fair to Wilfred Nancy either. who's now going to be landing in the toughest week of the season to start your new job, which is, I mean, talk about going at the deep end.
Yeah.
And it's certainly not, as I said, it's not fair on supporters who deserve to know a bit more than they're getting told right now.
I think you make such a good point, Mick. It would make so much more
Several,
sense.
Daniel, several good points.
I didn't mean to sound surprised there.
You don't need to sound shocked by it.
No,
Anyway,
just in my head, Martin O'Neill, for instance, I was looking at Rio Hatate and Daisy Maeda today. A couple of months ago, it looked to me like they chucked it, basically. Since Martin O'Neill's come back in, he's got them, feeling like $1 million. The same with Trusty at the back and Scales. I don't know, like you say, I just think it would be wrong to take Martin O'Neill out right now and throw Non-CN, as you say, to the toughest week of the season.
Yeah, listen, it was always a plan to appoint a manager. That was always going to be the plan. It's just it's rumbled on a bit too long. And like a lot of critics, this is sort of lucky that he's come in with not really any kind of thoughts about staying longer term. A lot of caretaker managers come in and get a couple of results and think, you know what, I fancy this job full time.
Do you think he would like it though, Mick? Do you think if he got the chance, he'd like it?
Do you know what? I think he's enjoying it, and I think adrenaline's keeping him through it, and I think he would do it as long as he's needed and as he's asked to. But I think deep down he knows that there's a kind of, incredibly busy schedule coming up from now until March. If you know that it's short term, you can get by with that way. I think if you'd known then, if you said to him, oh, it's run till June, it might be a bit more daunting in terms of he's not done this for 6-7 years. The day in, day out, it's relentless. I mean, even us poor reporters having to go across Europe and all that stuff. I mean, I feel a bit weary this morning after a busy week. So I can only imagine how he feels at 73. I only just look 73. I'm not actually 73. So I think you've got to be realistic. It's a big job for a guy at that point in his life, having not worked for 7 years. I think deep down he knows that as well. I think he enjoys it more knowing that it's a short period. I think it'd be tougher if it was a longer period of time. And still do need to get going. January is a huge window. That has to be dealt with now. I mean, it should be well underway now. There should be a list of players on Nonce's desk to be checking and going through right this minute. You would think so. So yeah, I get the kind of the emotional pull, and listen, the job he's done. I can get why people say, listen, just keep him in charge for as long as you possibly can. I get all that. I do think they'll need to start moving forward in terms of a permanent manager soon. I just think that the windows are now the ideal windows to do this kind of thing is past. They keep missing the chances to get it done, and I get it. It's not their own fault. Some of this stuff, it's more kind of bureaucracy and all that stuff. But if your wheels turn quicker earlier, the bureaucracy catches up quicker as well. So the fact that it's 5 weeks, was it 5 weeks tomorrow since Brendan Rodgers left? I mean, the MLS season finished a long time ago as well, 2 or 3 weeks ago. So, I think things need to get a bit more quicker with these kind of things because it's creating problems for everyone concerned. And the only person that is getting it done is Martin O'Neill and the players that are getting by right now in the meantime.
Mick, I'll let you get up the road. Thank you so much for joining us on the Hotline Live as ever. I'm sure I'll be pestering you to come back on soon.
No worries. Catch up with you later on.
Michael Gannon there, Keith. Always like having Mick on. I haven't made a
spoke a lot of sense, as you said, made a lot of good points, and yet still the potential highlight from that pre-record was the moment in time when it looked as if he was about to get totaled by the laundry cart.
That did actually throw me off. I was looking at that going, what's going on here?
That would do magic.
I haven't actually made a visit to the comments yet, so let me do that now if that's okay. Stephen Kennedy says Martin O'Neill has transformed several players and angles. An example, Martin O'Neill is a genius in my eyes, best Celtic manager since Jock Stein. McGrain says it would make sense for O'Neill to stay until after the cup final. There's no big rush and gives Nonce some lead-up time to get organised. Kenneth agrees, says next 4 games for Martin O'Neill because it makes sense for Celtic. And Brendan has even given praise to the board. The board had to be applauded for identifying the number 1 target and bringing in O'Neill until such times as the contract is signed. Where do you stand on the Martin O'Neill stuff, Keith?
I don't know, but I'm finding it more and more mysterious and more intriguing. The paperwork thing. I mean, Martin O'Neill, I watched him kind of making jokes about, the paperwork's taking a long time. Don't know where the papers are.
Maybe I've hidden it.
it was almost as if he knows this is becoming a farcical situation. So he's trying to use his quick wit and his humour to kind of play it down, but it doesn't smell right.
Seems odd.
This shouldn't take this long. So look, it probably is a paperwork issue, whether it's work permits or whatever it is. It's probably something that there's no great mystery to. But at this moment in time, we are free to speculate. And there's a lot of people that are trying to second guess what is really the cause of this delay. Has somebody in the chain caught cold feet? Was Wilfred Nosey looking at the kind of the splits between the boardroom and the supporters and all the issues that are around it? Does he not quite fancy it? I think that's unlikely, because I think he would see this as a great opportunity, and I think that he would consider himself as a competent guy, that he could come in here and he could help kind of calm the whole thing, and he could be the glue to bring Celtic back together, and they can go on from here to have great times. I think that's the way that he would see this, and also we're fairly sure that he's had his eye on getting in a big European job for a while. So I think it's unlikely that if there was somebody getting cold feet with that side, actually, when you start to think of it, and everything that you guys were talking about, to you and Mick, if you're Dermot Desmond right now, and let's bear in mind, at no point in his whole time at the club has he behaved so bizarrely or so erratically than he has done over these last few weeks. Could he be looking at this and assessing that the potential downside of appointing Nonsi is getting bigger with each win that Martin O'Neill tucks in the bag? Because if Martin O'Neill had come in and he'd minded the till and he'd kind of kept things rolling along, and it was a win here, a couple of drop points there, and nothing had really changed, then there's no real, other than you still know it's a risky appointment to go for a guy with no experience over here, only 4 years of manager. So there's a high level of risk attached to it in the first instance. But when you've got a guy who's actually in there and pulling off one win after the next, and in that very short space of time has completely stabilised Celtic's entire season. They can go top of the league on Wednesday night if results go their way when they're at home to Dundee.
Yep.
And that would be Martin O'Neill. What a way for him to sign. If that is the sign off, there you go, guys. Couldn't have done any more for you. You're sitting top of the league. Wilfred, then you come, pick up the baton, and on you go. Right? They beat Rangers in a semi-final to get to the first major final of the season under Martin. And he got that result in Feyenoord, which was, a historic milestone for Celtic's away performances, a record in Europe. And it not only is that, it's catapulted them right into the thick of things, and they look in a fairly good position for qualification to extend the European campaign. Martin O'Neill has been responsible for all of these things. So if I'm Dermot Desmond, am I thinking, oh, wow, could you imagine that you put your new guy in charge, you put him in for the Hearts game, that goes wrong, and all of a sudden Hearts are back on top of the league, or stretching the lead at the top. You go into the Roma game and it doesn't go well, and Wilfred Nosey's getting to know the players and maybe trying to do things tactically or with the formation, and it takes a while. Then you've got the St Mirren Cup final. So what I'm trying to suggest is that, and there was always likely to be a potential downside because of the risk element involved, but is it even bigger now? And could it be that Dermot Desmond's looking at it going, maybe just hold that facts, just don't send that paperwork through just now? I don't know. That's pure speculation, but it certainly makes sense. And he has been erratic. The assassination job that he carried out on Brendan Rodgers, completely uncharacteristic and unnecessary, and pointed to somebody who was either acting in anger or was, perhaps losing his element of control. There was no need for it, and it reflected badly on Celtic, and it reflected badly on Dermot Desmond. Then he sends his boy into the AGM armed with a poison pen letter and blows that whole thing up. So I'm not sure that the decision-making process that has been employed by the guy at the top of the tree at Celtic right now is fit for purpose. And if he has, after chasing high-profile pursuit of Wilfred Nosey over this period of time, only to decide, I don't know if we can take the risk.
Mm.
And what does that tell you? But it makes sense because Martin O'Neill is getting along just fine, thanks very much. And if results suddenly were to go back in a downward spiral, back to where they were before Martin O'Neill had to come in as caretaker and or interim manager, what then? Because I tell you what then, the Celtic board, they won't, I don't think Nonce will be blamed for that, but they're already, pretty angry and desperate for change in the boardroom level. It could become a full-scale mutiny if all the good work that Martin O'Neill has done is then undone by appointing a manager that was always going to be a risk in the first instance. You know what I mean by that? Does that
No, that makes sense to me. I see what you're saying. It'll be interesting to see what happens either way.
Well, that's because if it's all hunky dory and this is just a paperwork issue, even though that seems strange given the amount of time it's been involved in this, but if that's what it is, then we'll find out in the next few days, and everything should finally be rubber stamped, and Wilfred Nonce will arrive. I just find it strange that this time last week the information Mick was hearing from inside was that Wilfred Nonce, it was so far down the line, he was probably going to be Easter Road to watch today's game.
Mm-hmm.
No sign.
Mm.
So one or two things around this don't quite add up. Now, it might just all be as has been explained, and it's all ratified and sealed and signed by the end of this week, and it all changes. But again, then you come back to what Mick's saying. The guy's going to come in, get one training session, 2 maximum, before preparing for a visit from a Hearts side, which, yes, it's struggling for form right now. It's wobbling a little bit, but we're better for Hearts to rediscover the vibe than by going to Celtic Park and putting down a real statement one, which would say, yes, by the way, we have been in this title chase and we're not going away. So I think there's a lot of things to be considered here.
We've got a lot of fans in the comments, Keith, asking us to talk about the actual game today. A few of the calls. Big Rab says, are you going to talk about the utter joke that Payne call was today? No proof 100%. It was his hand first on the angle shown, and Ingles was pulled away from the flight of the ball he was getting. Did you think the Scales incident was a correct decision to give a penalty?
Yeah, I did. And I had to laugh actually because Chris Sutton, our pal Chris, was obviously doing the co-coms, and he said on about 3 different occasions that Scales' arm was down by his side, even though he was actually watching a replay at the time of Scales' arm coming up, moving towards the ball, and his upper arm was at right angles to his body, moving towards it. And the reason I think that, I'm not a fan of the handball rule, but with that one, if Scales doesn't make contact with the ball at that point, it's going straight through to Rocky Bashiri, who's a yard out from an open goal. So I don't think the officials had any choice for that one. I think that was a penalty kick, yeah.
A few other people in the comments asking about Yang, his head collision. I think it was with Rocky Bashiri. Sean says the Yang head collision a mystery to me. How it isn't a penalty, wins the ball and then gets taken out. Did you see anything in that?
I'm going to do an Arsene Wenger here. I don't know if I was making a cup of tea. That's an incident I didn't see.
I can remember. I remember the incident. To be fair,
I can't recollect it.
My first shout was that's a penalty. When I saw it again, it's a wee bit more like a collision. But I do think, to be fair, Yang does get there first. So I think maybe Celtic had a bit of a case there, but who knows?
Do you know what we need to do with these decisions is get our resident ref on tomorrow night to discuss.
We've actually got a few people asking when Des is going to be back on.
I think Monday night's as good as ever, isn't it?
Des, if you're watching, you might be getting a text very soon. Should we have a little look at
I enjoyed the game. We want to talk about the game. I enjoyed the game. It was a real good contest. I thought Hibs were probably quite unlucky in the end. They've contributed to their own downfall. Obviously, Salinger has a brain fart early or midway through the first half for the first goal, and then Hibs haven't got reorganised. Next thing you know, they're 2-0 down. Great goal, brave header from Engels. I've seen somebody saying should that have been a red card for?
We had a big fallout about trusting.
McGrath. Yeah,
It was McGrath
yeah,
on Engels, yeah.
yeah. I know, but that's completely different. I mean, that's just yes. I get it that in both cases somebody's had a kick in the face, and the one to Engels was a lot sorer looking than the one that
Aye.
that Jack Butland had suffered. But in the game at Hampden, trusted the ball is dead. It's in the keeper's arms. There's zero need for him to do what he did. He put his leg in there for no reason at all, other than to make contact with the head.
It was a really strange one.
That one there, McGrath is trying to get to the ball. Jamie McGrath's trying to get to the ball, and Engels has just got there first, and he's been really, really brave to put his head on the end of that and get the goal. So no, I don't see anything in that one.
He's looked like a new player under O'Neill. One of a few.
They all do it. I mean,
Yeah.
I've got to say they all do it, but they certainly, I think you mentioned Dyson Maida, Rio
Hatate.
Hatate, new leash of life. O'Neill has pushed Hatate a little bit further forward. I think he enjoys that. I think he's playing in an area of the park that he feels that he can do some damage. Maida has got all his energy back. For a guy that was supposed to be in a huff and kind of wanting to get a move at the first opportunity, and that may still come around in January, who knows? But he has given everything for his teammates and for his manager right now. Yeah, big scales. As unlucky as he is, and I do think it's a penalty kick, but he's just an absolute rock for Celtic.
I would put him forward the Celtic's player of the year so far this season.
He's up there. He's got to be in contention.
Yeah.
Again, I thought penalty kick, nothing you can do about that. But I thought he'd done another terrific match. He gets his head on everything, makes all the right tackles, all the good covering runs. So yeah, no, Celtic are a long way from where they would like to be. There's no doubt about that. But is Martin O'Neill getting the absolute maximum out of these players right now? 100% yes. And it is interesting, isn't it, that so many of the summer signings appear to have been demoted into absolute bit part roles from the bench. So I don't know if he's sending out a message there as well.
I think we can have a very quick look before we wrap up at the league table. And that brings
Well, we've
me...
also... Whoa.
No, go on.
Aberdeen, big win at Livingston.
That's what I was going to say. Listen, it's all in hand here. Don't you worry.
You should don't do the big reveal with the table then.
Well, Aberdeen, aye, very good win over Livingston, and
Nicky
obviously
Devlin.
coupled with their win over Hearts.
I think they've nicked that one today, by the way, by all accounts. I think Livi were in the ascendancy for most of that game, and I think David Martindale's probably scratching his head as to how he's come away with a big fat 0. But do you know something? Sometimes it takes these performances on the road. Aberdeen have been struggling. We all know that. So to go there, have a tough afternoon, stay in the match, and then nick a winner. I think they'll probably enjoy that on the way up the road.
I was going to say the league table there that we can bring it up again. I think what I was going to put to you, Keith, was obviously can see now Celtic 2 points behind Hearts with a game in hand. P. McLaughlin in the comments says, I predict Celtic will be 10 plus points ahead of the nearest challenger by the time the New Year derby finishes, and that's on January the 3rd. So, maybe 5 weeks from now. I think 10 plus points is a bit ambitious, but do you go along with that?
It would certainly be ambitious if Hearts go to Celtic Park and get a win, wouldn't it?
It's going to be huge next week.
I think that's a massive game. By the way, if Celtic, with the momentum at their back, maybe with Martin O'Neill still in the dugout, who knows? If they win that game, then I think Celtic will push on from there. I do. But I think, by the same token, if Hearts can go there to the home of the champions and get themselves a result, whether that's a draw or a win, I think that could reignite them. Because they look to me as if they're just in need of something, a spark, a 90 minutes, or something, just to get them back into the groove a little bit. Because that's no wins in 5 now. And to be fair, they've got better players, they've got better quality than that. They shouldn't be going on a run of no wins in 5, which makes you wonder if they're storing it up for Celtic Park.
Well, just to counter that, though, I mean, I agree they are really struggling for form. But, I mean, a point against a really good Motherwell team this season, away from home, half decent, and it's 1 defeat in 14.
Yeah, listen, and they are where they are for a reason, Dan. They've been the best side, the most consistent side in the country so far. Aye. But you just wonder, once they got themselves into such a lead, sometimes you can get a little bit spooked when you start looking down the way. and you wonder if there was a little bit of that with Hearts. It kind of feels to me as if they just need 90 minutes. 90 minutes where they maybe forget about everything else and concentrate only on the game itself. And I think they'll get that opportunity to do that at Celtic Park. Because you can't be worrying about other things when you're going to play Celtic on their own pitch. You can only deal with the game in front of you, and that might be a good thing for Hearts.
Yeah. Well, look, whatever happens, we'll be here to cover it all on the Hotline Live. But I think for tonight, that brings us to the end of our show. There's been so many comments tonight, so many talking points that I dare say we'll pick them up tomorrow night.
And it's good to have you back, Dan.
Oh, it's good to be back. I missed
Another
it.
holiday. Yeah, another holiday.
McGreen in the comments says, Dan and Keith, the top team. Although, in fairness, Mo says if Dan's the future of journalism, then we've had it. So there you go. 1 minute you're a star, the next you're brought down to earth. So there you go.
Well, it's not really journalism, Dan, is it? It's kind of anchorman.
Exactly.
The modern day anchorman.
And
I don't mean rhyming slang and any of that.
I believe you. We'll be back to do this all again at 6 p.m. tomorrow night. Might even have a special guest or two. Stay tuned for that. But for tonight, thank you for all the comments. And Keith, it's great to be back. Pleasure having our usual chat.
Enjoyed your company.
You too. And hope you can join us tomorrow. Thanks for watching.